The video is 7 seconds long. A man steps out of a car. The car is black. The building behind him is glass. The caption says he turned $8,000 into $400,000 in 11 months. There are 2.4 million likes. The comment section is a river of people asking how, and you are one of them. You are 25. You have $6,000 in savings. You make $61,000 a year and spend $60,400 of it in ways you could not fully account for if someone asked. You have watched 43 videos this month about building wealth. You have taken no action, not because you are lazy, but because each video contradicts the one before it, and the combined noise has produced in you a kind of financial paralysis disguised as research. Then you read something old, not a thread, not a newsletter, a book printed in 1958, written by a man whose family had been wealthy for so long that wealth had stopped feeling like an achievement and started feeling like a climate, something you simply lived inside of and maintained. The first sentence stops you completely. Wealth is not what you accumulate. It is what you refuse to lose. You read it twice, then a third time. Then you sit with the fact that nothing you have consumed in the last 3 years of financial content has said anything like this. And you begin to understand that the education you've been getting and the education that actually produces generational stability are not the same curriculum. You have been told to save. You have not been told what saving actually means to someone who has been doing it across 4 generations. It does not mean setting aside whatever remains after the month is done. It means identifying formally and precisely a pool of capital that does not participate in your life, not in a crisis, not in an opportunity, not when the market corrects and the instinct says to move, and not when everything is good and the instinct says to reward yourself. Old money families treated capital the way they treated land. You do not sell the land. You sell what the land produces. This is not a metaphor. It is an operating principle so old it predates every financial instrument you have ever used. The principle generates returns. The returns fund the life. The principle itself is untouchable, not because you cannot access it, but because you have made a decision, architectural and irreversible, that you will not. You look at your $6,000. You move $4,000 into a brokerage account. You name it nothing inspiring. You do not check it for 30 days. The first month is difficult in a way you did not expect. Not because of the money, but because of the habit. You are used to money being fluid, available, a resource that responds to your mood. Watching it sit motionless feels wrong at first. By the second month, it begins to feel like the only thing you have ever done with money that made any sense. By the third, you understand what the book was trying to say. Compounding requires you to look away. The anxiety of watching is what breaks the chain. The shift. You stop measuring what you have. You start measuring what you have committed never to touch. You're 27. Your principal is $11,200. Your income is $68,000. You have started noticing something about the people around you that you cannot stop noticing now that you have seen it. Everyone is performing, not lying, not pretending in the dramatic sense, just performing. The upgraded apartment before the salary justifies it. The car with the monthly payment discussed with a specific combination of exhaustion and pride, as though the suffering is evidence of taste. The restaurant posted before the food arrives. The vacation captioned while still at the airport. The entire visible surface of people's financial lives staged for an audience of other people who are staging theirs back. You did this. You did not know you were doing this. You thought you were just living. Old money rule 2. Your income is not your identity. The old families understood something that the culture of 2026 has entirely lost, that the display of wealth is the first expenditure of the insecure. That visibility is not status. It is exposure. The visible rich attract the wrong attention. The pitch, the renegotiated friendship, the person who overestimates what you have and adjusts their behavior accordingly. The book says it plainly. The man who shows his hand loses before the game begins. You drive the same car. It is 8 years old. It runs without complaint. You stop apologizing for it at work, not aggressively, not as a statement. Simply stop. And something strange begins to happen in rooms where it used to matter. People who were performing their earnings around you begin to seem slightly exhausting. People who were not performing begin to seem interesting in a way they didn't before. There is a composure to someone who is not trying to convince you of anything. People mistake it for confidence. They are not entirely wrong. What it actually is, the absence of the low-frequency anxiety that comes from spending ahead of your position. You have nothing to maintain. The armor is lighter. You stop spending to signal where you are. You start spending only on what lasts. You stop the reflex purchases. Not all spending. The book is not ascetic, and neither are the families it describes. They buy well. They buy once. They buy things that do not require replacement. The difference between a $35 item that becomes useless in 18 months and a $140 item you use for a decade is not $105. It is the compounding gap between what you spent and what you would have held, multiplied across every category, across every year. You begin to wait before buying anything above a certain threshold. Not because waiting is a virtue, because desire and need are not the same thing, and the only way to tell them apart is time. Your savings rate climbs without your income changing. You find this mildly shocking and then find the shock embarrassing because the mechanism is obvious once you stop participating in the machinery that was designed to prevent you from seeing it. You are 29. Your principal is $22,000. You have started a small amount of consulting work on the side. Not marketed, not announced. Someone you helped carefully and without expectation mentioned you to someone else. That someone else called. You delivered. They referred a third person. The old money rule on this is clear. Your reputation precedes your invoice. You do not post about the work. You do not build a funnel. You do not create content explaining what you do so that an algorithm can expand your surface area. The book is explicit about this, and it is the most counterintuitive thing it says in a world built on visibility. Money discussed is money diluted. The moment you tell someone what you are building, you trade the energy of building it for the temporary relief of being seen building it. Old money families held assets for generations without press releases. The land did not need an audience to appreciate. This is the rule that takes the longest to understand. Not because it is complex, because in 2026 the word name has been replaced by the word brand, and the brand is a performance, and the performance is measured in engagement, and engagement is the opposite of what old money means by the word. A name, in the old sense, is what the room believes about you when you are not in it. It is the answer to one specific question. Can this person be trusted with something important? It is built across years of small decisions made without audience. Commitments kept when keeping them was inconvenient. Work delivered at the level promised, not at the level that was easy. Words that held their shape across time. It is destroyed in one loud wrong decision. You turn down a deal. It would have paid you $11,000 in 2 months. The person offering it operates in a way that requires you to be slightly less precise than you actually are. Nothing criminal, nothing dramatic, just slightly off, the kind of arrangement that sounds fine when explained and feels wrong when quiet. You say no. The discomfort lasts 4 days. The clarity has not left. You begin to be known in small, specific circles as someone who does what they say. Not impressive in the culture of 2026. Where everyone has a value statement and a personal mission and an authenticity they broadcast on a schedule. Genuinely, quietly, functionally reliable. You show up, you finish, you don't describe what you will produce before you've produced it. In a world where everyone performs reliability, simply being reliable is strange enough to be memorable. An introduction is made, a fee is agreed. You hold the number without negotiating down out of discomfort. They pay it. The reputation begins to earn on its own. You are 33. Your principal is $98,000 and has never been touched. Your consulting work brings in $7,200 a month. You leave your employment on a Thursday. No announcement. No post about the chapter closing and the new one beginning. No thread about what the years taught you. Old money does not announce transitions. It completes them. You buy a property. It is not in the city. It is not the kind of thing anyone would photograph. A small building in a secondary market. Unremarkable numbers, reliable tenants, a cap rate that is clean without being exciting. The algorithm would not recommend it. A content creator would not feature it. There is nothing about it that produces a good caption. That is, you're beginning to understand the entire point. The investments that matter most are the ones that generate no attention whatsoever. This rule sounds like a motivational poster until you feel its weight in your mid-30s, till you watch people around you making decisions in 3-month increments and understand, at a cellular level, that they are building something with a ceiling they cannot see. Old money did not build in years. It built in generations. which means every person in the chain had to be willing to plant trees they would never sit under, not as sacrifice, as architecture, as a structural understanding that the most powerful force in wealth is not intelligence or timing or access. It is duration. You begin making decisions with a 20-year horizon. 3 opportunities come across your table in a single quarter. Each would produce cash quickly. Each would consume your attention entirely for the duration. You turn down all 3. You put the money instead into positions that are slow, that are boring, that you would not bring up at dinner because no one would find them interesting and because the point is not to be interesting. You are not trying to win the conversation. You are trying to be solvent and calm and free in 2046. The long view changes what you are able to see. You start noticing the rhythm underneath the noise, the slow cycles the book described that you can feel now in the shape of the data when you stop looking at the data too closely. A position held for patience, not prediction, returns $31,000 over 16 months. You reinvest it. You do not celebrate. The old money rules do not celebrate returns. Returns are expected. Celebrations are for outcomes you were not sure you deserved. You stop measuring success in years. You start measuring it in decades. You are 38. Your principal is $310,000. You own 2 properties. Your business earns $160,000 a year and does not require your full presence to do so. You work 4 days a week. On the 5th, you do the kind of work that has no launch date and may not produce income for years. The long cultivation of something that cannot be rushed and would not benefit from being announced. People your age carry a specific kind of anxiety. The mortgage at the edge of what's comfortable. The market correction that erased months of progress in a week. The career that moved sideways when it was supposed to move forward. You feel the proximity of these things. You are not immune to the world, but you are insulated from the urgency of it. The emergency fund the internet recommends is 3 months of expenses. Yours is measured in years. You don't mention this. No one needs to know the floor. They only need to know you're still standing. The old families you have studied. Not celebrities, not tech wealth. The actual old money, the landholding, 3 hyphenated last name families whose capital survived the Depression and 2 world wars, share a single visible trait. You cannot tell from looking at them what they have. No logo that speaks before they do. No watch that announces itself across the table. No home that performs its price for visitors. Not because they are modest in the way modesty is performed in 2026 as a brand positioning, but because visibility is an expenditure. The visible wealthy attract friction. The pitch, the ask, the relationship that changes shape when someone believes there is something to extract. Invisibility is not humility. It is strategy. The book puts it plainly. The display of wealth is the first expenditure of the insecure. You buy a watch. It costs $380. It is not the right brand. You will wear it for a decade. You are 40. Your net worth is $940,000. 3 people in the world know this number. One of them is your accountant. You do not feel like a millionaire in any version of the word that 2026 has produced. You do not feel like the videos. You feel like someone who made 1,000 small correct decisions in a row across 15 years and is now living inside the result, which feels less like a destination and more like a terrain. Quieter than expected, slower, more permanent. The algorithm still runs. It is still selling urgency, still measuring you against people who found a faster way. Some of them found it. Most are performing the finding, and the finding is the product. The content engine requires constant acceleration to stay visible, and the visibility is the business, and the business is fragile in ways the numbers do not show yet. You have stopped watching, not out of contempt, out of irrelevance. The performance was never aimed at someone who already had a direction. Somewhere tonight, someone is 25. They are watching a 7-second video, a black car, a glass building, a number that doesn't seem real. They are in the comments asking how. They will watch 40 more videos this month and take no action because the noise is designed to feel like education and the education is designed to keep them watching. They have the information. What they are missing is harder to sell. The willingness to stop performing their future and start building it. To protect the principle. To let the reputation precede the invoice. To hold the name more carefully than the capital. To make the decision, quietly and without ceremony, that the version of themselves that needed to be seen accumulating is not the version that actually accumulates. The rules are not new. They are not complicated. They are the exact opposite of everything the algorithm has been selling since the first paycheck arrived and the first notification asked what you plan to do with it. The book costs nothing to understand. The only thing the rules will cost you is the version of yourself that wanted it to be faster.